All right, let's get into it, Pat. We're going to talk DFS. We're going to talk DraftKings, 9K and above range. We're going to give you 3 tournament plays that we like for GPPs or large tournaments. We're going to give you a cash lock for head-to-heads, 50-50s, and double-ups, and a fade. Pat, everyone in the chat on YouTube live seems to believe that you are going to be all over Willie Zalatoris. So why don't you start and tell us first off your thoughts on Willie Zalatoris and if our YouTube viewers are in fact correct?
So I will start, and then I'm going to have to run to get a quick refill, but I'll let you go. But I will start with Will Zalatoris. I know everybody's going to talk about because he is the top priced guy this week at 10-9 on DraftKings. And yes, I am going to play Mr. Will Zalatoris. I don't care if it's a trap. I don't care what you say. The guy has been dominating the web.com tour all year long, or the Corn Ferry. Sorry, I still can't get Corn Ferry wrapped into my mind that I need to say that. But he's been dominating this year. And, we saw him play extremely well on a very tough course last week at the U.S. Open. He's not fazed by anything as far as, where he is and what is, being on tour and everything else. I would typically say, and actually before I even looked at pricing this week, I said it in my mind. I said, one of the first things I'm going to say on the podcast when we get in the 9K above and above range is that I'm not going to be tempted to take anybody over 10K because this field is so weak and there could be, there's so many different things that could happen that I'm not going to take anybody over 10K. But I changed my mind and I'm going to go with some Will Zalatoris. I like him this week. You look at the stats. He is great off the tee, great on approach. He checks the box in opportunities gained, which is a stat, proprietary to Fantasy National. One of the things I looked at, and you hate, I know, but I like proximity this week on these easy greens where you got to be able to hit it close and give yourself scoring opportunities. So I like that. He's second in the field in proximity. So I will play Zalatoris in DraftKings this week. He's a GPP play, by the way, for me, not a cash play. Okay. Next GPP play, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the 9K range. And this is kind of a little bit of a gut feel, but I'm going to Pat Perez at 9,100. Now, doesn't necessarily check the box off the tee, but he's 18th in the field in strokes gained approach, checks the box in opportunities gained, birdie or better percentage, par 5 scoring, proximity. We saw him play pretty well last week. Where was he last week? I think it was a top 15 finish. Yeah, he was T9 last week, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, at the Safeway Open. I think Pat Perez could be a good kind of turn. This feels like, him down in the Dominican Republic. He's just like kind of, just sort of, having a good time, whatever. I just think
it's his hair, though. You think he can still play with his haircut? I don't know. It's like Samson.
I think he can. So I like some Pat Perez. And then I like Denny McCarthy at 9,600. I think he is a good play this week as well. You look at the stats for him. He is, let's go across the board. He's 25th in strokes gained approach, 51st in opportunities gained. He's second in the field in birdie or better percentage and 23rd in par 5 scoring. I like some Denny McCarthy. I think that's a good price also for him at 9,600. I know he missed the cut at the Safeway, but was playing pretty well up, before that with a top 10 finish at the Wyndham, T49 at the Northern Trust. But I think Denny McCarthy this is a good week for him. So I like him at 9,600. My cash play is Adam Long at 9,900. I think he's another guy that is just sort of class of this field. I mean, look, this is not a great field, but he's a guy that, you look at his last 4 cuts he's made at the BMW, the Northern Trust. Well, it wasn't one at the BMW, but at the Northern Trust, at the Wyndham T31, he was T13 last week at the U.S. Open. I think Adam Long makes a ton of sense, especially in cash. He's just not going to be making a whole lot of mistakes out there, and he can score. He's 12th in the field in opportunities gained. He's 5th in birdie or better percentage. He's 9th in strokes gained on par 5s. So I like that. 35th off the tee, 17th in the literally all the boxes Adam Long's checking. So I like him as well. And my fade is going to be Charles Howell III. Just don't like him. I think I wonder where the ownership's going to be with him. He's literally not checking any box at all. It may be par 5 scoring. I'll give him that. But I just don't like Charles Howell this week. I think he's been so up and down all year long. I feel like he'll garner some ownership just because of his name and, because of this field being as weak as it is. So he will be my fade. So there you go.
All right. You're going to go get a refill?
Yeah, go.
All right. Well, yeah, I think the Zalatoris play is foolish. I love Will Zalatoris. Listen, I think he's a talented guy. I think he deserves a spot on the PGA Tour and some sort of membership that's beyond what he has now. But the Zalatoris play, even though you're getting a nice discount at 10.9, which normally we see the top price guy over 11, despite that, it's a foolish play. The guy, first of all, like the mental exercise that he had to go through at Winged Foot alone in New York, flies to Puerto Rico. It just doesn't feel great. I know he's young, but dang, like going from Winged Foot to this, I don't know. But I just think the percentage play is that this guy, Will Zalatoris, is getting a lot of credit. He's got like 11 straight top 20s or something on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's got a win on the Korn Ferry Tour. I get it. He is a great player, and he will be a thing on the PGA Tour. He will be. But it's just not worth what he has to return at the end of the day. The way that he returns value as the top price guy is not likely for him. And it's less likely for a guy like Will Zalatoris as it would be for a much bigger name in a much stronger field that you would pay the same price for. Don't think it's worth it. So I think you fade him. And I don't think he's actually going to be all that unpopular. I think people are going to play him. I think people are going to like the price at 10.9, and they're going to play him. I don't think so. So he's my fade. My cash play and tournament play is going to be Emiliano Grillo, who has played Punta Cana before. He did okay, but Grillo's recent form, very, very solid. He checks a lot of boxes. He's great total driving off the tee, hits it long enough, hits it very, very straight. The iron play has been extremely solid over the last few events. Finished third place at the 3M Open a few weeks back, 29th at the Safeway just 2 weeks ago. Checks the box in strokes gained approach, opportunities gained, DraftKings points, greens and regulation gained all over the last 24 rounds. I think Grillo is a fantastic play at 9,800. I would like to start most of my cash lineups with him, but I'll also play him in tournaments. The other two tournament plays for me, Pat mentioned, he mentioned Adam Long, which I like. Depending on how popular he's going to be, we'll see. But I think Corey Connors is your pivot. I think Corey Connors is the pivot of the week because, like Zalatoris, coming from Winged Foot, unlike Zalatoris, missed the cut at Winged Foot, missed it by one stroke on the final hole. So had a weekend to kind of take a break from Winged Foot, but arrived to Winged Foot having played pretty well with the 33rd at the BMW at Olympia Fields, 25th at the Northern Trust. We've seen some great finishes in strong fields, really strong fields from Corey Connors. Great off the tee play, great iron play. It's all about the short game for him. Typically, he loses a little less than a stroke around the greens in most of his events over his career. At Winged Foot, he lost 5. He could not chip out of that rough. Yeah, I don't blame him. Like a lot of people could chip out of that rough. But I like the pivot because I think a lot of people are going to play Zalatoris still, and even more are going to be playing Mackenzie Hughes and especially Sam Burns. Now, I love Sam Burns, but I think Sam Burns is going to be the chalk of the week at 10-1. I'll go ahead and put it out there. I mean, I don't mind betting on Sam Burns for sure. He's a little short for me in a field like this, but he's going to be very chalky in DFS. The lowest owned guy in this 10K range is going to be Corey Connors, but he has upside. He's a PGA Tour winner. Him and Mackenzie Hughes, Adam Long, Grillo, all PGA Tour winners already. And we also tend to get some intel on Corey Connors late on Wednesday night that may prove helpful for some. So if you're not already a member of the Nut Hut, you need to join the Nut Hut. By the way, shout out. We just, Pat is working with fellow TJ listener Marcus Griffin. We have revamped the Nut Hut Listener League. There's a whole lot of ways that you can win a trip about this time next year. You can win a trip to come to either Augusta or Savannah, play a round of golf or two with me and Pat. We'll treat you to either my place at Champions Retreat or Pat's place at the Landings. Pat's place at the Landings hosts the Korn Ferry Tour event. Beautiful spot. Champions Retreat hosts the ladies amateur event that the Masters puts on. Another great spot. We'll be glad to host you. There's a lot of ways to win, but you got to join the Nut Hut. $10 a month, $90 a year. Get all the intel from us late on Wednesday night. Join the Wednesday night chat. Join the chat 24/7 and talk to a lot of very sharp listeners that we have in the chat all the time. And then get the invite to it's a free DraftKings private invite to Nut Hut members only. And if you win any event throughout the year, there's going to be 50 chances for you to do this. If you win any Nut Hut event throughout the year, you automatically get a shot at the live final for the Northern Trust. Is it next year, Pat? Is that the tournament?
It is going to be the Northern Trust. Yes. We wanted it to be a cut event. We didn't want to have like this past year where we didn't have the players, the Tour Championship, which was just kind of a not a great way to end it. So we wanted there to be a cut event and to have it kind of like a live final where the winner of that just won it. So it's going to be, I think we've got it pretty good here. Like you said,
yeah.
If you win any of the Nut Hut weekly events, you're entered into the live final. And then we're also we've got it segmented out into quarters. So there's going to be 4 different segments. If you win a segment, you also get an entry into the live final. And if for some reason you win multiple weeks, which could happen if you win multiple weeks of the league or multiple segments, which I can't imagine. If you do that, that's just really
or like you win a week and a segment.
Yeah, you're going to get extra points when it comes to the final, live event, you might say. So you will have a better chance to win that week. So it's going to be fun. I think it's a way better. And we also want to keep everybody involved throughout the year, even our new listeners, our new Nut Hut members, all that kind of stuff. It gives everybody a chance to kind of stay involved with the league. So I'm looking forward to it. By the way, who won this past week?
Yeah, this past week it was, I don't know how to say this name. The DraftKings handle was J Copes, JKOEPS. So shout out to you, sir. You have already won an entry into the live final event for the Northern Trust next year to earn a chance to come play some golf with me and Pat and have a great time. Looking forward to that. So join the Nut Hut. Join us. It's a lot of fun. It's $10 a month. It's like literally nothing. So go to tourjunkies.com, click on Golby's Nut Hut, and join today. But I bet we're going to have some information on Corey Connors come Wednesday. So all that could change, in other words, based on our information. But I like Corey Connors.
I stepped out when I know you were talking about with our boy Willie Z, Zalatoris, and I know you were fading him, and I kind of it was coming in and out of the AirPods here of what you were saying. But did you think ownership is going to be high on him?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be interested to see where it is.
I mean, I bet he's like 17% or higher. So it's not like super chalk, but it's enough. So Grillo, Corey Connors, and I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on Adam Long. Those are my 3 tournament plays for all the reasons you said. All right, let's go to the 8K range. I like this range a good bit. I'll start it. I'm gonna go with right off the top. I think Charlie Hoffman is gonna give you some ownership leverage. I feel like he's gonna give you some leverage. This is a weird event for Charlie Hoffman to play in. Normally doesn't have to play in tournaments like this. But with the new year starting, he's got to do some things to keep status on the PGA Tour. And over the last 24 rounds, he is top 15 in the last 24 rounds. Sorry, let's go top 16. Okay. Top 16 in the last 24 rounds. He is top 16 in strokes gained approach, strokes gained on par fives, DraftKings points scored, opportunities gained, birdie or betters gained, and greens and regulation gained. Now, some of those stats are related, but he's top 16 in all those. Like, he doesn't hit it very far, but he's okay. He doesn't hit it very straight, but these are wide fairways. You know, I think I think Charlie Hoffman at 8,900 is going to be a quite overlooked play. And we know he has win equity. I think he still has win equity in a field like this for sure. Proven winner on the tour. I think he's got it. And then I'm going to go with Adam Schenk in tournaments. I like Adam Schenk. Checking a lot of boxes. Played here twice, T33, T35 in his 2 outings here at Corales Puntacana. Let's see. Recent form. Made the cut at the Safeway. Northern Trust, 39th. Wyndham made the cut. He's made a lot of cuts. You know, best finish was a 30th at the Rocket Mortgage since the restart. But he's a cut maker. And now you come to an
he's
easier
a cut
tournament.
making machine. I mean, he makes a ton of cuts.
He does. He plays a lot of golf, makes a ton of cuts. So I like Schenk. And then for cash, I'm going to go Luke List. I like Luke List all the way around in any contest. I like him. I think he gives you a ton of win equity. I think Luke List is, you know, honestly, and I know Vegas doesn't agree with this, but personally, I give, you know, Willie Zalatoris, Zalatoris, no better chance to win this golf tournament than Luke List. That's why I can't play him. I can't play him at 10-9. If I can look at a player like Luke List and think there's nothing to me that makes Will Zalatoris. I'm going to keep calling him Willie. His name's Will. That's gonna cause Will to win this more so than potentially Luke List. I think they have the same upside, honestly. So I'll play List all day long. List is cash. The fade is Ju Young Kim, the South Korean 18-year-old phenom. I know he's really good. I know he's a great amateur.
Oh, wow.
$8,200 in this field is dumb. It's similar to the Will Zalatoris. It's hype, and it's a really good young player that will be good. And I'm all for getting in on people, you know, early, right? Like that's fun. You get on them early when they're cheap, but he's not really cheap. Like 8,200 in this field is not cheap. So don't buy the Ju Young Kim hype. I know he you know, he's a whatever. He's a good player, but $8,200 is not. You don't do that with the names that are surrounding him. I'm not buying it. So there you go. So GPP, I'm going Hoffman, and Schenk. Cash is List. Fade is Ju Young Kim.
I mean, I think if you're comparing, you know, the hype of Kim to Zalatoris, it's totally different. I mean, Zalatoris has proven it like constantly all season long on the Korn Ferry Tour and then at the U.S. Open. You know?
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to compare it that way. I guess I'm just both have hype. I'm not that either one of them. It's not the same level of hype, but both are getting a little chatter. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying. Will is getting a lot more, and deservedly so.
So there is some agreement here. I had Luke List actually as a GPP play, and if I'm correct, he did win a Korn Ferry Tour event, didn't he, this year? Didn't he play in a Korn Ferry Tour event and win it?
Who are you talking about?
Luke List.
Yes, he did.
So, I mean, he's a guy that's played, you know, like in a weaker field, he's done extremely well, which is like, and but he's got a ton of tour experience. So I like him as a tournament play. I could see why you'd play him in cash. My cash was actually Adam Schenk. So, I mean, I guess you could flip-flop him for both of us. I mean, Schenk is just, like I said, he's a cut maker. I like that price at 8,500, so I'm with you there. My other GPP play is, I'm going to screw this up. I knew it. I knew I was going to mess the name up, but Zhenzhen Zhang.
Oh, yeah, Zhenzhen Zhang. I like
Zhenzhen Zhang at 8,400. I think he is a good play this week. Was 14th last week at the Safeway Open. If you look at the stats, he is he's checking the box off the tee, 16th in the field, checks the box in birdie or better percentage and par 5 scoring. I think he's got a good shot to have a really good week. I like that price at 8,400. So he's another guy I will play in tournaments. And then my fade at 8,000 is going to be Mr. Patrick Rogers. I'm going to fade him. I think he's going to be
you're
too
gonna
highly
fade
owned
Patrick
this week.
Rogers. That's hard for you. You okay?
It is very hard. But the only box he checks is off the tee. He is 108th in the field in approach, 116th in opportunities gained, 82nd in birdie or better percentage, 84th in par 5 scoring. He's really just not doing, anything that I feel like you need to do as far as scoring is concerned. Great, lately for this week. And his finishes on tour, I mean, yes, he's made his last 3 or 4 cuts, but he's not doing anything. I mean, he's making the cut and he's finishing T46, 70th, T66. I feel like he's going to have a little bit higher ownership than because he is Patrick Rogers. And, I love him. I'm a big fan of him, but I'm a little worried about where that ownership is going to be at 8,000. So he will be my fade this week.
For the YouTube viewers out there, Marcus Miklovich, our resident hack Photoshopper, has already done a great Bryson DeChambeau Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on the brain villain with Shredder presenting the U.S. Open trophy. I mean, that is just beautiful. That's a fantastic job for the YouTube viewers. Look at that. Way to go, Marcus.
Good job, buddy.
All right. 7K, by the way, if you're listening right now and you're thinking, what, this is going to be the longest podcast in the world. It may be. But we're just going to go through the DFS picks and then the sportsbook kind of first look, and then that's it. No final segment tonight. We're moving on. 7K and above, 3 tournament plays, a cash play, and a fade. Pat, I will let you start this one.
All right. So I am going to start at 7,600, and I'm throwing out I told you before the show that I was going to kind of try to be a little bit different and not just throw out some of the same old names that you hear, because there's a lot of guys that might pop, a Jonathan Vegas, a Keith Mitchell, blah, 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 in this 7K range. But I'm going with Rob Oppenheim at 7,600. I like him this week. You look at the stats, he's pretty level across the board when it comes to the scoring stats. He's, right in the top third of the field. But he has played this course before.
It's so hard to click his name. Just I see his name and I'm like, Rob Oppenheim.
It sounds like you're
Who am
clicking
I even
on
selecting?
An attorney, like a
dentist,
CP.
really. Dr. Oppenheim. That sounds like a dentist. He does fillings and root canals.
Yeah. Anyway, played this tournament 2 years ago and finished 35th. I just think he's, I don't know, he's in good form. You look at his last few, good putter. Look at his last few events. He finished T36 at the Safeway. He was T15 at the Wyndham Championship. So that's a good top 15 finish in a very solid field. So I like Rob Oppenheim at 7,600. Another guy I looked at 7,400 was Mr. Cameron Percy. I think he is a good play this week. He's played, you look at his last event, he was 23rd at the Safeway Open. You kind of like a puzzled look on your face there.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
You don't like Mr.
Cameron Percy?
You don't like Mr. Percy?
No. But I mean, okay, I like that you're giving the people, something to think about.
Just something to think about. I think Cameron Percy could have a good week. 4th in the field, by the way, in strokes gained approach, 26th in opportunities gained, and he is in the top 20 in par 5 scoring. So I think Cameron Percy could have a potential to score a little bit this week and give you a chance in those GPPs. And then the other guy I'm going with is a guy that pretty much, there was a lot of talk about him going into the Safeway, and then he missed the cut. But that is Chris Baker at 7,500. I'm back on Chris Baker this week. I think he can be a good play. For all the same reasons that we liked him at the Safeway, I'm liking him again this week. Checks a lot of boxes. He had some form going into the Safeway before he missed the cut. So I like him at 7,500. My cash play is going to be Will Gordon at 7,600. I think he's a good play. Just look, that guy, and the starts that he's had, he's done the best with them. He's had 11 starts on the PGA Tour. He's made 7 cuts. Checks a box when it comes to the stats. I mean, he's a stud, just like Will Zalatoris is a stud right now. When you look at the web.com, Will Gordon, the other Will, could easily do the same thing and has that win upside as well. So I think he is a good play. You can play him in tournament or cash, but I do like him in cash. And then my fade, this is pretty easy. Graham McDowell, look, he caught fire last year in this tournament, but other than that, he's been awful. I mean, he's missed like 5 or 6 straight cuts, doesn't check any boxes here. I don't think, you can look at the past champ and say that there's any really good reason to play Graham McDowell this week, especially at 7,800. I think he could be way cheaper than that. So there you go. That is my 7K range.
Well, I'm definitely eating some chalk in the 7K because I think that Will Gordon and Chris Baker, 2 guys you mentioned who I love, are going to be popular. Will Gordon, for me, is a tournament play, gives you all the upside you want, hits it a mile. You're talking about DraftKings points scored, birdie or better. He's going to rank very highly in those categories over the last 24 rounds. Chris Baker, very accurate tee to green, does not get himself in a lot of trouble. I have mistaken him for Christian Bezenhout, which Marcus Miklovich helped me discover. He is, in fact, not him, and he is from Indiana. He is an American. So this is the first podcast I get to pick Chris, and I get his nationality correct. So American Chris Baker from Indiana. God bless your soul. I'm a big fan of Chris Baker this week. Think it's a great spot for him. I will play him, and he is my cash play, but I also like him in tournaments. If I'm going to give you, let me give you a name that I don't think is going to be super popular, but in an olden day, maybe he would have, and that is Mr. Kevin Chappell. I'm going to get on the Chappie bus. Think about Kevin Chappell, right? Like a couple years ago, we were doing this. He was a great ball striker, cash play, solid player. I believe winner on the PGA Tour. I believe he's won on tour before.
He's been injured.
He's on a medical exemption. He's had some injury problems. Yeah, he won the Valero Texas Open in 2017. PGA Tour winner, President's Cup player. Kevin Chappell was a stud. We've seen him play a few events since the restart. Came out his very first event at the RBC Heritage, missed the cut, made all 3 cuts after that, but no real solid finishes. 56th at the Safeway was his last outing. But every start is valuable for Kevin Chappell, especially now that the everything's kind of reset, and this PGA Tour year is what starts it, right? Like, you got to finish in the top 125 now. You don't just keep your card. He's got to get a certain amount of points on this medical exemption. No better place than a weak field, typically alternate event for a guy that's got a lot of talent. He just had an injury issue. His caddy is experienced. He's got a great caddy on the bag. Now his old caddy went to Max Homa, but the new one's just as experienced. I can't remember his name. But I think Chappell's going to give you a little bit of ownership leverage and potential top 10, top 5 upside. Could win this thing.
He can score healthy, too. We saw him. He shot 59 in the last fall at the Greenbrier.
That's good. So I think Chappell may give you some value. My fade. All right. So Baker's my cash play. My fade in here is going to be a guy that I think his last time out, at least had a few good rounds. He finished 9th at the Safeway. James Hahn. He putted the lights out at the Safeway. He gained 5 strokes, almost 5 strokes putting. That normally does not happen. James Hahn is a guy that plays really well at the courses James Hahn historically plays well at, but he's never played here before. He's never had to play here before. I think he's going to check some boxes for people, but I think you need to stay away. It's just, he plays well at Riviera. He plays well at, certain courses, especially West Coast courses, POA, green surfaces. He does well there. I don't think this is a place for James Hahn. So that's it for me. Let's talk 6K range. Some flyers here in the 6K. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with the bomber, California kid, Brandon Hagee. Oh my God, did you hear that?
No, I did not.
Dude, I'm pretty sure my smoke detector just beeps. When that thing chirps?
Oh yeah, I've heard that before.
Figure out which one it is in the house. I mean, this one, thankfully, in this room, I know what it is. But if that thing we're in trouble. I'm gonna go with Brandon Hagee, California guy, bombs it, hits it a long way, can take advantage of the par 5s, like him. Let's see. Big fan of the Swafficer, Hudson Swafford here. I really like Swafford here. Good total driving guy, not super long, just good, solid ball striker. Can flash, I mean, in the spring before COVID, 9th at the Waste Management, 21st at the Honda. Hasn't done anything really since the restart, but I like Swafford at a mere $6,700. I'll take that. Martin Laird kind of popped for me, checking some boxes at 6,600.
Okay.
And finally, let me go way down here. Let's see, 6,500, a guy who checks a lot of boxes over the last 24 rounds, especially for a guy as cheap as he is. Finished 14th at the Safeway, 26th at 3M Open.
I know where you're going.
Michael Gligic.
Yes.
Gligic. Michael Gligic is checking boxes, taking names over the last 24 rounds. So I'll go with him. That's it for me.
Okay, well, he was one of my GPP plays down here in the 6K range, so we can go ahead and get that out of the way. Another guy that I like is Scott Brown at 6,900. Now, there's a little bit of a local feel to that because he's a local guy to us that we've interviewed on the pod before, but he's had success in turn. Like, you look at what he won the Puerto Rico Open several years ago. That's on this Paspalum surface grass, so he had success there. You look at the stats, it's actually pretty decent here. I mean, he's 21st off the tee, 44th in opportunities gained, 25th in par 5 scoring. So I think Scott Brown could kind of sneak up out of here in this 6K range and have a good week. I like that. I like Grayson Murray at 6,400. I think he's a guy that you might even could look at like a first round leader bet. The guy is a scorer. He doesn't, I feel like he's just such an aggressive player that he's not necessarily going to be that guy that could be, you can rely on to be a cut maker, but I like him to score. I mean, he's 25th off the tee. He's first in birdie or better percentage. He's first in par 5 scoring. I mean, he's a guy that I just feel like you could see, pop for whatever reason. But I like Grayson Murray this week at 6,400. So there you go.
Yeah, I did notice on Instagram he's already pissing and moaning about $40 room service. So it was like a salad.
Regardless of his personality, which you can take or leave, I mean, he's like the opposite of Bryson. If we want to talk about personalities, I mean, he has. When I say opposite, I mean like. I don't know what I mean. He's just the opposite. I just feel like they're way total. Like if you put Bryson DeChambeau and Grayson Murray in a room together,
oh god,
the fight and everything that would ensue might be like pay-per-view worthy.
Yeah,
it's like Grayson would probably have like you put him in a room. Let's just say we put him in a room. Like Grayson's probably got like all this alcohol and crap with him and whatever else.
Oh yeah.
And like
Bryson chugging his
and Bryson's on the other side of the room with a bunch of like weightlifting equipment and some protein shakes and stuff. And like then you tell them, you're like, all right, y'all have to converse. Y'all got to talk about stuff. Like that would probably be a pretty interesting show.
Yeah, Bryson's like super smart. Grayson is a Neanderthal, pretty much. So that probably would not go over very well.